Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. In this episode, I'm going to be doing a review of the latest SteamWorld game, SteamWorld Quest: The Hand of Gilgamesh, which is kind of very different from the rest of the SteamWorld series. It originally got its start as a tower defense game on the DS as DSiWare way back in the day, and from that moved on to a metroidvania style game with SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2, and then moved on to a turn-based strategy game called SteamWorld Heist, which happens to be the favorite in the series for me, and now we come to SteamWorld Quest, which was a turn-based, card-based strategy RPG game. It's not like any of the other games in the series, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a fantastic experience, but it's not without its faults either. Alright, first off, I made a written review on smashjt.com. For those of you who prefer the written review, I'll put a link to it in the description below. As far as this video is concerned, I'm just going to go over the major points of the game, what I enjoyed about it, what I didn't, and why I feel like this is a game that some people definitely should play right now. Let's get right to the meat of it. This game delivers on fun. Every single battle is random with cards drawn from a deck that you build while traversing throughout the game. Initially it comes across as extremely basic, but as time goes on, more cards and strategy get added to the action, creating a truly unique and intense, challenging experience. Stacking cards becomes an important strategy, where effects rendered on enemies are amplified based off the order of cards used. For example, if you select a card to poison the enemy first, then attacking second with a card that multiplies damage to any opponent who is poisoned gives a brutal blow to them. This is one of those strategies you're going to need to master in the game to be able to make it far without getting frustrated. If you don't learn how to stack cards against the enemies, you will lose and you will die, and you will die a lot, especially throughout later in the game. You need to know going into this that it's a card battling game first, and everything else is a far distant second. And there are some good things and bad things to that. First off, I truly enjoyed the battles in the game. They were the best part of the game, thankfully. The battles can be very long, with each fight lasting anywhere between 3 and 10 minutes, and oftentimes it just felt like you were going from screen to screen, battling an enemy, and then moving on to the next screen and battling another enemy. It felt very basic throughout the entire game. Yes, there are multiple paths you could take sometimes, but even though you could take the multiple paths, it wasn't necessary. You just needed to get to the end point of the level and progress through it. And yes, there are hidden treasure chests with cards in them, and yes, there are some secrets in each of the levels, but there wasn't much of a motivation to look for them. You could just progress easily throughout the game once you learned how to master your deck. And speaking of mastering the deck, it was a blast learning how to put the decks together to maximize the power and potential. The amount of variety and possibilities seemed endless as I was putting the cards together. Unfortunately though, like I said, outside of the battles, SteamWorld Quest felt a bit hollow. There's very little interaction with objects in the world around you, and it meant that traversing screen to screen with the sole purpose of battling enemies could get a little bit tedious, could get tiresome, could just get extremely repetitious. And if you don't like battling enemies over and over and over again, it may not be the best game for you. I could tell that there were some efforts made to combat this, but they all came up a bit short. You had the ability to swing your sword while traversing the world map, and that was a very welcome feature, but the lack of objects to interact with made it feel pretty useless at the end of the day. It was extremely, I don't know, just very tacked on. Swinging your weapon at an enemy prior to beginning a battle would give you a preemptive attack, taking away some of their health. Unfortunately, half the time I did that to the enemy, it would swing and miss even though it felt like I was on the same exact plane of them. If you can get past that though, again, not a big deal because it's a card battling game first and everything else is a distant second, which can lead people to feel like the game is just extremely streamlined, where it didn't even need the world map. You could just fight enemy over and over and over again if they just gave you harder battles to go and let your hit points go up, and it just seemed like everything else in the game was tacked on because all the effort was put into the card battles themselves. Oftentimes the levels felt claustrophobic, or restrictive. Like, it was broken up into chapters, and there were a whole bunch of chapters. The game itself lasted me about 12 hours to beat it. But the problem with the chapters is it just felt very streamlined, where you start here and get to the end here and then move on to the next chapter. And I prefer a little bit more freedom in my role-playing games, and I don't like the chapter feeling that games present to you when they force that on you. Yes, it did allow you to go back and check out the areas that you'd already visited to look for treasure chests and find things you may have missed, but I didn't really need to do that while I was playing through the game. I built up enough experience playing through each level without the need of having to go back and do that in the first place. So even though they gave you the option to go back and find other treasure chests for the completionists out there, yeah, that's a welcome feature. But as far as somebody who's just playing the game to enjoy it, it just felt very unnecessary. The game world itself is absolutely beautiful. Hand-drawn artwork, the entire background. Sometimes I just stopped and caught myself just staring at it and felt enveloped in the world. Honestly, it was one of those unique experiences as far as graphics goes, where it's one of those that you truly need to play through to understand what I'm talking about. That was one of my favorite parts of SteamWorld Quest. And while it may seem like I'm being overly negative in this review, I just want to give you my honest feelings about it. Did I enjoy the experience? Yes, I enjoyed it a tremendous amount, but that doesn't mean it's for everybody. Again, I'm not somebody who typically plays these card battling games, so going into it I was a bit hesitant. Going into it I was saying, it may not be for me. I like role-playing games, but I'm not huge on card battling role-playing games, but I'll give this one a shot because I love the SteamWorld series. And I'm glad I did because the game was fun. In fact, it's so fun that I would recommend anybody who enjoys role-playing games and wants to take a chance on a card battler that you really can't go too wrong with this one, especially for the MSRP of $24.99 USD on the Nintendo Switch. It's not that bad of a price for as much as what you're getting in this. For that reason, I'm giving SteamWorld Quest The Hand of Gilgamesh an 8.25 out of 10. While it has quite a few shortcomings, SteamWorld Quest is still a welcome addition to the incredible family of SteamWorld games. And even with that high score, I still want to caution you, if the thought of a card battling game turns your stomach, playing this is not going to change your mind. But if you're the type of gamer that is open to change, open to the idea of maybe you'll have some fun with this, you probably will. If you're new to the SteamWorld series, I wouldn't say start with this one. I would say start with SteamWorld Heist, or if you're more into the metroidvania style, SteamWorld Dig 2 or SteamWorld Dig. It doesn't matter what order you play those in. But if you've played all of those, you enjoyed them, you're probably going to enjoy SteamWorld Quest. And that's where I'm going to leave the video. But again, I want to say a special thank you to Image Informed Games for being such a tremendous supporter of Smash JT. Providing this copy for free well in advance of release blew my mind. So thank you guys so much for doing that. As far as everybody else, let me know if you're interested in picking up SteamWorld Quest, and if you do play it, what you thought about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.